me, pay me. And when I got you be a bossy, pay me, yeah. Not a soul with me this Christmas. Not at all. I collecting now me cash for Christmas. Everything. I'm moving like a taxman this Christmas. Serious thing, you know. Like a bounty hunter this Christmas. Oh yeah, you're always in the latest. On every A-list, in every party. Jiggy Johnny and Henny. You always come with that story. But a woman having a baby. But we not seeing no baby. And it definitely please give me what you owe me. Baby.
WEFM, the clean fresh sound.
Rise and shine. Let's get ready to take on the day. Activated Mornings on WEFM 99.9 is on now.
Welcome back, St. Vincent and the Grenadines. The time is 7:46. If you're just joining us, this is AIA, with me is Roleza, and we are Activated Mornings this morning. Now, as I hit the nose and hit the nail on the head right there. Pay me. We have a story here on Searchlight. The AIA cannot afford to pay workers, but they agreed to partial payment. As you know, the PSU had threatened industrial actions in relation to said $40,000 owed to workers by the AIA. Now, according to Searchlight, the industrial relations between the PSU, Public Service Union, and the management of the Argyle International Airport, AIA, has ended with a compromise just over half outstanding monies owed to workers to be paid in 2 months. PSU President Elroy Boucher, in an interview with Searchlight, said that the AIA management acknowledged that they cannot afford to pay the full amount of $228,000 in retroactive payments owed to workers. The company said they couldn't afford to pay the amount that was owed. It was over $200,000 in total. They said that they were not in a position to pay. The condition agreed upon for the settlement is a 60% payout on retroactive payments. The remaining 40% will be awarded in vacation days to workers, which amounts to between 9 to 12 vacation days. The monies owed to workers are retroactive payments on salaries dating back to 2016, when workers moved from the now decommissioned E.T. Joshua Airport to the Argyle International Airport. The union had agreed on a forfeiture of payment for the years 2016 to 2018, and the increment for 2019 amounting to 1.5% of the AIA workers' salary was to be paid in January 2023. The union had said that they expected the retroactive payments for 2020 through to 2022 to be paid as well, but the AIA management had countered, saying that they had already met the commitment to the workers. A deadline of April 12th was set to settle retroactive payments, or workers threatened a two-stage industrial action. Days before the strike was set to commence, both parties met for talks, with which the union had described as contentious. We had insisted that they pay everything. It was at the last minute that it was suggested that if they can't pay everything, then pay 60%. The negotiations were not one that was done in an amicable manner. It was very contentious because of what we thought was a failure of management to appreciate what these workers went through, Boucher related. He said that the workers are satisfied with the cash agreement, even though they would have wanted the entire amount paid in cash. Boucher revealed that part of the agreement is that the agreed 60% is to be settled in 2 months, ideally by the end of May. What are your thoughts?
Well, as I said last week, I really I wanted to see what was going to be the outcome of this. I always feel that if persons have a grievance and if they have a union and they're going to strike and they're trying to have their opinions heard or a matter redressed, they have to come together. They have to be collective in their position and have the union represent them. What it is that I'm getting from this is that Boucher, as the head, was not necessarily in agreement with the outcome of it. But again, he's just the head and he has to go based on what the majority of the persons within the union or those persons he's representing, he has to abide or go along with what they say. In terms of this, I think one of the first questions that I had after these full details came out is why did it take so long? Because they've had this grievance since, or the monies owed to them was from since 2016, which is almost 10 years ago. It's been 8 years ago, right? I can possibly understand maybe the lull the airports would have experienced during the COVID period. But one of the things when it comes to these type of situations is I always think it's probably a little bit better to nip things in the bud as opposed to leaving them to go on for an extended time, because when you extend that time, it means that the money is accumulating along the way, right? So that was just one of the things there. Did the workers get a fair deal? Everybody would always prefer to have cash in their hand, right? But the trade-off has been the 60% and they get the vacation days. I think for me, what would have been more interesting was to see if they had held out, what would have been the position of the management of the AIA. And part of me wonders if they settled.
I already have my opinion on what happened there. But I think the question that a lot of people need answered is the airport operating at a loss? Why is it that they're not able to pay workers or even give workers the back pay for the work that they have been doing? Now, the airport opened February 14th, 2017 officially. That means that the airport has been in operation for over 5-6 years. So over the 5-6 years, the airport has been operating at a loss. That is what I am genuinely curious about. Well, I know that during the COVID period, they more than likely would have, because there was a decline in air travel at that time. Right? How long was COVID? COVID was 2020, 21, and started pick up in 2022. Not so? Somewhere across there, right? Okay. Well, no, it's 2024. Well, but okay. I don't know. Blame COVID for everything. No, I'm not. It's not that I'm blaming COVID, but I'm blaming COVID for a period of the years in this particular story, right? It came off to me quite disrespectful as well to hear the PM say, "Oh, we ain't feeling nobody going Listen. Yeah, but remember at the time we thought that it was just 40,000, which is why when I read this and I saw the amount that it accumulated to. Why it was that I've just raised the point of I never thought it was 40,000. I was just reading the stories. Okay, all right. 40,000 could not make sense. Let's take this call. Hi, caller. Good morning.
Yes, good morning.
Morning.
Ari, you know the kind of impact that COVID had cost? The impact that COVID had cost on a lot of businesses. They take them sometimes. Okay, give me a period. I'm saying that they shouldn't be paid. Yes. They have all rights to the money. But just trying to clarify what you were saying about COVID and blaming COVID. But COVID has caused a lot of business even to close. Listen, I will never take away from the impact that COVID has had on the international market. Not just saying St. Vincent and the Grenadines. But what I am curious about is the airport operating at such a loss where it cannot pay workers, but that the airport isn't part of the government, the airport isn't partially funded by the Taiwanese. How is it that there's money to do different things? Pop up with $1 million to fix the road on Buckerman. We're still seeing money being handed out for different projects, money being assigned to different areas. But then the price possession would say we know the Argyle International Airport is important. Why is it that we're not finding the money? And if it was a merely $40,000, as the PM was saying, why wasn't the workers given the $40,000? All right, you said I was listening to Chairman. But anyway, as you said, they find money to do this and do that. You know, when monies are allocated for certain projects or certain things, you can't use that money for nothing else.
Okay. At the same way, you were able to source funds for when it is that we receive backlash for the treatment of Shafiqua. We were able to source funds there. Why isn't it able to source funds for AIA? All right, so I think AIA is statutory, right? So which means that the funds generated from that airport are really supposed to cover their expenses. Listen, I've been to press conferences where we've received millions of dollars for things from Taiwan and different countries for development that we've yet to see.
Yeah, in terms of if they actually get money in terms of, let's say, subvention or whatever from government, that it is I can't speak to. So if it's a case where as a statutory organization or statutory body, they are supposed to be self-funded, then maybe I can possibly see that they are maybe not necessarily operating at a loss, but they're trying to pick up things based on what has happened during the COVID period.
I always hear the argument that airports are not profitable, that airports in the Caribbean don't make money. But if it is that you know that you've entered into a venture that you're not going to profit from, why is it that you're going to reach the higher people?
But remember in this case, Ari, it's the airport isn't just a business unto itself. What it is that it's an avenue for other things to happen within the country.
So why hire people if you can't pay them?
Tourism, because Carla, good morning.
Yeah, me again. And remember the last of request.
The law what?
Super eruption.
Oh yes, yes.
The last of after COVID all.
Yes.
Right.
Okay.
But
right. So it's a conduit for the development or additional development for SVG. Not just tourism, but trade for other spill-off effects. So it's just a facility by which persons come here or even businesses are able to have that avenue for trade development.
Why is it so common that persons seem to not be receiving their pay? So that's our guy not receiving pay. Marketing board not paying workers. Why?
Well, I can't speak to marketing, but we're speaking about this one.
But I'm saying we're finding the funds to do all these different things, but then people who should be paid by the government not being paid. And that is the long and short of it.
Yeah, but in this case, Ari, because this is a statutory and because this is supposed to be generating funds, I think it might be a little bit different. Well, maybe not so much completely different from the market, but right.
Well, listen.
But I think, but I thought what we're focusing on here was whether or not the agreement that has been reached is a fair agreement towards the workers.
Well, if they don't have the money to pay them, they have to take what they get.
And this is what the point that I was making. Was it a case where they settled too quickly, or was it a case where, let's say, persons, because as we said before, we don't see protest action necessarily happening here in SVG. We are not persons, or our generation isn't one that would necessarily stand our ground when we have a point in terms of collectively, right? We don't necessarily see that. Would a strike action actually have taken place if these workers meant to hold out, or would persons saying, let me just take what I get? Because we see it many times with persons with jobs. They know that they're not being paid at least the minimum wage, but because they're fearful that they will be fired, that many persons just say, let me take what I can get.
The reality is, people get blackballed here. That reality.
And that I agree with. And this is why it says for me, when do we take a stance collectively? It shouldn't just be one or two persons voicing their opinions or voicing their concerns, and they almost seeming as if, okay, so you be the face, you be the front of you be the spokesperson, and you could take all of the heat. Well, everybody else would just fall back and possibly benefit if they speak up.
It's easy to say that when you don't have bills to pay.
Exactly. So, which is the same point that I'm making. Is it a case where we don't stand our ground because we're afraid of what the consequences may be?
Oh, most definitely. Most definitely. We hear this from anybody that is put in place to defend workers. It's the same thing. Persons are frustrated, but they're afraid to speak up because that's their source of income. Now, airports are profitable through a multifaceted approach. They optimize various revenue sources, including parking, retail, dining, and advertising, ensuring a consistent flow of income. Cost management is equally vital. By efficiently handling operating costs, airports can enhance their profitability. Now, I expect the airport to see more profit, at least in the later half of the year. Good morning, caller.
Yes. Okay. Let's basically say, look at this simple now. I get to understand that there are some businesses that are laying off workers since the salary increase, right? And then
minimum wage.
Others who saying, there were others saying that that not enough, that can maintain this, that can maintain that. But look at the bigger picture. I have 50 staff working, right? I have to find $1,000 every month. That's $50,000. So what do you think I'm going to do if I can't manage? Now let's go about 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 10, 15.
No. Well, it's 8 o'clock here. But why is the first option to let go people when there's space to have restaurants, there's space to advertise at the airport? It's not like the airport is at capacity.
I think
I'm talking about the airport specifically.
Businesses generally.
Oh, yes, you're speaking, okay.
Because I get to understand that there are businesses that are laying off folks because they can't meet the requirement.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, I've heard something similar as well, and which was one of the concerns that I raised when the minimum wage was going to be increased, where I was saying that I'm hoping that it's not going to be a case where persons are going to be laid off on account of businesses now having to spend more in terms of salaries,
Definitely.
But it was a gamble that needed, I probably shouldn't say it's a gamble that needed to be taken, but the minimum wage had to have increased. I'm not going to say no to that, but
no problem. Definitely, man. Definitely.
Right.
But there are businesses now that are going to struggle to the increase, and the only option is to lay off if they have 50, as I say,
right.
like 50,000.
Constantly increasing the minimum wage when everything else increases doesn't make any sense.
Right, and I think what we need the bigger discussion to be had here is what is the state of our economy and what is the state of the economy in relation to small businesses. I think that is one of the other. We really need
to discuss whether or not the airport is profitable.
There's a lot to look into.
And if the airport continues to operate at a loss, then those persons working there will continue to have issues with the payments.
Well, we don't know if it operates.
Well, they're saying that they don't have the money to pay the workers, so they can be operating. If they're not operating at a loss, then something wrong there. The facts in front of me right here. They cannot afford to pay the workers. If they operate, you know what? It is 802 caller. Thank you for your contribution.
Well, you don't make no sense.
Thank you for your contribution, caller. It is 802, and your time check was brought to you by New Haven Funeral Home.
Death is a fact of life. Even though death is